She told you she wanted a strong man, a man of vision, discipline, ambition. She praised Napoleon, idolized Alexander, quoted Stoic passages about virtue and inner mastery. And for a moment, you believed her. But then you became it, looked at you with this strange mixture of admiration and distance, as if she were peering through glass, not at a man, but at a monument. She loved the idea of greatness, not the reality of living next to it. You stopped chasing cheap dopamine. You hit the gym. You built something of your own. But still, something felt off. Not rejection, not exactly. Just a slow erosion of warmth. An invisible ceiling you couldn't name. A man of towering discipline, strategic genius, and imperial dominance. Women whispered his name as myth, and yet his letters to Josephine are haunted. To be near a man with vision is to constantly feel his gaze pointed at something beyond you. And this is intolerable to most modern women, raised on the gospel of self-worship, attention, and constant emotional primacy. But not the burden of being with the man who carried it. Her love was not for the emperor, but for the thrill that circled him. You've felt it. You've poured years into shaping yourself, into rising from the ashes of mediocrity. But the more you rose, the more distant they became. They liked you more when you were wounded, when you were accessible, when your soul bled at their feet, desperate, devoted in a way that feels almost emasculated. And deep inside, beneath the logic and the self-help quotes, a dark seed of doubt took root. What if becoming more dosing to mean being loved more? You started carrying yourself differently, speaking less, moving with presence. And in the silence that followed, you watched her pull away. She didn't say it outright. She just softened her voice when talking to someone else, laughed a little too freely. These are not the words of a conqueror. They are the words of a man unraveling at the altar of the feminine. Napoleon, the emperor, was obsessed. Josephine, his wife, was not. They're drawn to drama. Not power, but the tension of it. The chaos orbiting it. The feeling of proximity to something dangerous, without the price of truly submitting to it. You did everything they said to do. You became valuable. Napoleon Bonaparte was a god of war. He rewrote the very map of Europe through sheer will. I wake up full of you. Your image and the memory of last night as intoxicating pleasures have left no rest to my senses. She cheated, often, and with ease. She loved the danger of power, yes. And here is the uncomfortable truth that no one says out loud. Most women, not all, but most, are not drawn to greatness, because to love a great man is to disappear a little. They want the god to glance their way, but not to live in his temple. You, the man watching this, already know this. They don't want you holy. They want you broken enough to kneel. You think this is bitterness? Look deeper. Look at the old myths. Hercules wasn't loved. He was feared. Odysseus didn't win Penelope by strength, but by pain and loss. Christ wasn't followed as a king, but worshipped only after crucifixion. Women do not love greatness until it suffers, until it bleeds, until it kneels. And in the modern world, where men are taught to be useful, strategic, composed, where high value has become a spreadsheet of optimized status signals, the ancient hunger still moves beneath her skin, not for greatness, not for structure, but for the experience of emotion. She wants to feel, to be cracked open by chaos. And if your greatness dulls her senses, if your calm silence does not provoke a storm, she will unconsciously seek out a man who does, not because she is evil, but because she is feminine. Because her unconscious worships not the man who builds empires, but the one who burns them down. You saw it in high school. The quiet guy who studied and held doors and stayed loyal, ghosted. The chaotic, half-broken boy with fire behind his eyes, idolized. You told yourself she'd mature, that one day Women would finally see the value of the noble man. But what if that day never comes? What if she never wants to see clearly? Napoleon was obsessed with Josephine. Even after her betrayals, her affairs, her cold distance, he divorced her, yes, but never forgot her. Even at the height of his power, he was haunted by the echo of her indifference. Her silence bruised him more deeply than any enemy ever could, because there is nothing more unbearable to a man of greatness than the one woman he cannot conquer. And that, brother, is the real tragedy. You weren't wrong to become more, but you were lied to about what that would buy you. They told you women wanted kings. What they didn't tell you is that most women only love the crown, not the man who wears it. In the dark undercurrents of your psyche, there is an ancient split, a fracture between the man you wish to be and the boy still curled around the memory of a mother's gaze. Jung called this the anima, the hidden feminine within the male soul. She wears many faces, the lover, the seductress, the betrayer, the muse. And she holds your hunger in her hands. When you first began to rise, to carve yourself into something formidable, you imagined the anima would be impressed. That if you built a temple of discipline, she would kneel before it. That her love would finally be unconditional. But the anima is never conquered. She is the serpent winding around the tree of life. It is about the revelation of your shadow, the hidden chaos in every woman's eyes. She cannot be appeased by your greatness, because she does not crave your perfection. But every attempt only confirms the shadow's message, that you are hollow. The craving for validation you buried under the armor of Stoicism. When a woman withdraws her warmth, when she looks at you not with reverence, but with cool curiosity, the shadow emerges from its prison. It whispers that all your striving was a performance, that your value is a lie, that without her approval, you are nothing. She craves your attention, your devotion, your life force itself. Look at the myth of Orpheus, the greatest musician whose songs could tame beasts and soften the hearts of gods. And yet when he descended into the underworld to reclaim Eurydice, the moment he looked back, the moment he needed her validation, she was lost to him forever. This is the seduction of the anima. She draws you down, promising redemption. But the instant you turn your gaze away from your own purpose to beg for her love, she vanishes. This is the same hidden mechanism that governed Napoleon. He could command legions with a flick of his will, but the anima within him still bowed before Josephine's disinterest. He didn't simply desire her body. He desired the part of himself she mirrored, the vulnerable boy who needed to be chosen. Not because she is cruel, but because he has forfeited the only thing she respects, the unbroken axis of his own self-possession. That if you become more stoic, more wealthy, more competent, you will secure her devotion. But the anima does not transact. She seduces. She tests. She mirrors your hidden weakness. She waits for the moment you fracture. Then she recedes into the shadows, leaving you to wander the underworld alone. His letters were less love than confession, less passion than surrender. And in that surrender, the seed of his downfall sprouted. A man who kneels to the anima becomes her plaything. This is why so many modern men feel unmoored. You have been taught that love is a transaction. And it is here that your suffering becomes initiation. Because this dark night of the soul is not simply about loss. Jung's shadow is the part of you that contains everything you have denied, the aggression you swallowed, the despair you pretended not to feel. Most men recoil from this voice. They scramble to earn back her affection, to prove their worth, to patch the wound with more status, more effort, more masks. This is the hidden labyrinth, the same maze Napoleon never escaped. The more he loved her, the more he was unnayed, because the anima feeds on the tension between your sovereignty and your longing. She is not impressed by conquest. She is not subdued by devotion. And here is the contradiction. The more you posture as the invincible man, the less her unconscious trusts you. Yet the moment you collapse into neediness, she loses respect. This is the paradox the modern man was never taught, that women are not seeking your perfection, nor your surrender. The wound of the modern man who was told that mastery would buy love, that greatness would erase the primal fear of abandonment, that if he became everything, he would never again feel like nothing. They are seeking the collision between your shadow and your strength. She is searching for a man willing to face the abyss within himself. Not that greatness repels women, but that greatness chained to desperation becomes grotesque. That the anima, in all her guises, will never bend her knee to a man who abandons himself in her temple. A man who can hold her chaos without being swallowed by it. A man whose desire does not eclipse his purpose. The tension between danger and devotion. The dance between the part of you that could destroy them and the part that chooses not to. She is the mirror that shows you the part of yourself you are still unwilling to own. Why you must stop asking what she wants and start asking what part of you still believes her love will redeem you. You see, there is a reason women are drawn to chaos, to men who burn rather than build. These men, however destructive, embody something most disciplined men never touch. The raw, unapologetic expression of their shadow. The man who doesn't care whether he is adored or condemned is terrifyingly alive. He is unpredictable. He is closer to the wild god Dionysus than to Apollo. And in that energy, the anima feels both threatened and thrilled. Greatness without vulnerability is sterile. But vulnerability without sovereignty is pathetic. When you see a woman's eyes flicker with boredom, you are witnessing the anima's hunger for polarity. She cannot be nourished by compliance or by control. She wants to be dissolved by something bigger than herself. His empire was vast, but the landscape of his own psyche remained a prison. He never integrated his shadow, the part of himself that did not need her. He died not just in exile, but in the same quiet desperation that you have felt when a woman's eyes go glassy and her mouth forms the polite smile of unspoken disinterest, but only if she senses you are not addicted to her reaction. This is why Napoleon failed. For all his genius, he could not bear the emptiness of her disapproval. The shadow, the anima, the mythic betrayal, they are all facets of the same wound. But no matter how many books you read, how many iron plates you lift, how many strategies you memorize, the hidden truth remains. She is not looking for a god to worship. And this, perhaps, is the real lesson Napoleon could never teach you. This is why you must turn inward, not outward. Because until you stand alone in your own darkness, unflinching, unashamed, you will remain a beggar in the palace you built. There is a scene that plays out in the private theater of a man's soul, silent, wordless, humiliating. He stands before her, armor gleaming. He has become everything he was told to be, stoic, competent, valuable. And yet her eyes drift elsewhere, not with malice, but with indifference. And in that moment, he understands something that no mentor, no father, no ancient text ever dared to whisper. She doesn't want the man he has become. She wants something else entirely. You grow, you rise, you win her. But that's not how desire works. Desire is not logical. It is not loyal. It is not fair. It is not even personal. It is primal, mythic, an unconscious force that moves beneath the floorboards of culture, beneath the neatly packaged rules of dating and self-improvement. But what she wants isn't even clear to her. You thought the game was linear, cause and effect. This is the secret men are too afraid to admit, because to speak it aloud is to tear open the fabric of everything they've built. Most women are not attracted to greatness. They are attracted to gravity, to motion, energy, drama, emotional texture. And if your greatness hardens into predictability, if your soul becomes too still, too controlled, too unshakable, she will feel nothing, even if she respects you, even if she loves you in theory. Not out of cruelty, but because her unconscious still worships the archetype of the man she cannot fully have, the one who might leave, the one whose presence threatens to remake her, the one whose vision eclipses her completely. Even if she wishes, she could want you. A man with no empire, no code, but fire in his belly. But she doesn't. And the most terrifying part, it's not because you failed. It's because you succeeded. You were building yourself for the part of you that still needed her, because you became what you thought she desired. And she, guided by forces she can't even name, began to recoil. You are no longer dangerous to her. You are reliable, logical, emotionally available. You've been declawed by your own growth, and so she turns, not to someone better, not even someone stronger, but someone chaotic, unformed. And you will ask yourself, in the quiet of 3 a.m., lying next to a woman who no longer sees you, what was the point of becoming a king if the queen only desires the storm? But that question, that ache, is your gateway. Because maybe it was never about her. Maybe she was just the mirror, the symbol, the final trial before initiation. The truth is, you weren't building yourself for her. You see now, her indifference, her loss of desire, wasn't a betrayal. It was a test, a final shedding. Because the modern man's rite of passage is not war. It is not fatherhood. It is not marriage. It is the moment he realizes no woman is coming to save him from himself. No woman will complete him. No woman will truly see him, not in the way he craves. Not forever, not without price. And in that grief, in that silence, he becomes real. This is the forgotten initiation, the one ancient myths encoded, but modern men were never taught how to read. Dionysus was torn apart before he was reborn. Osiris dismembered. Christ crucified. Napoleon exiled. The great man is always broken, not by war, not by enemies, but by love. Because love, in its rawest form, reveals how much of him still belongs to the child. And when the animal leaves, when she withdraws her light, he is left with only the question, who am I, if I am not desired? Answer that, and you are free. You are no longer Napoleon, begging Josephine to write. You are the witness, the silent king behind your own eyes. You are no longer becoming great to be loved. You are becoming great, because it is who you are. And in that stillness, not the polished, performative stillness of self-help, but the raw, jagged stillness of a man who has buried his illusions with his own hands, you will find something far deeper than female validation. You will find the death of your false self. And in that death, life begins. You won't hear this in the dating podcasts. They are too loud, too eager to sell you tactics. But we're not interested in tactics. We're not interested in impressions. We are not here to win the anima's approval. We are here to see, to stare into the silent machinery of the soul and name what most are too afraid to face. This was never about getting women. This was about understanding why you needed them. So if something in this unsettled you, if you felt a flicker of recognition, a deep ache you couldn't quite name, stay, sit with it. Don't look away. This isn't content. This is ritual. And if you want to walk further into the underworld, to explore the hidden nature of female psychology, of shadow desire, of masculine disillusion, subscribe. Not because it's trendy, but because you've outgrown the noise. Leave a comment, not for likes, but for the echo, so other men know they're not walking this path alone. You are not broken. You are awakening. But first, you must burn.